The Tale of the Twins is one of Genshin's most mysterious stories that have yet to reach their fullest potential. And now, with the release of the Sumeru Archon quest, it is evident that the only thing we can certainly know about the Travelers is that we know nothing at all. Nahida's line about the Traveler does nothing but open more questions. Nahida states that the Abyss Sibling may be a creature of Teyvat, and was referred to by the Fatui not as a creature that came into this world as a descender, but was a resident of Teyvat already, which tests all the previous information that we and the Traveler know about their sibling. The entire purpose of their journey is just thrown over their head, and now we are faced with a strange and chilling question. Who really is the Abyss Sibling? To answer this, I will be posing two alternative and non-connected theories that I concocted to even vaguely attempt to understand the situation. Disclaimer: none of the information in this video is confirmed, and this is all just speculation. Furthermore, as we've seen how volatile Genshin lore can be, take even the canon sources as unreliable and subject to change. Genshin lore just plays weird like that. Anyway, let's begin. We need to clarify the three basic ideas that Nahida presented to us about the Abyss Sibling and where she got the information from. This is going to be important. Number 1. The Abyss Sibling has records of themselves in the Irminsul, while the Traveler doesn't because the Traveler is not from this world. 2 is that the Abyss Sibling is not listed by the Fatui as a descender, or an entity that was originally not from this world. Number 3 is that the Abyss Siblings' journey began after the Cataclysm, and along the journey, their fates and histories were unreadable and inaccessible by Nahida. With that context, I want to propose a theory going against what Nahida said, and that while the siblings' origins seem to be pointing them towards being a native of Teyvat, it's not that simple. Rather, they came to Teyvat with their sibling, but somewhere along the way, something sealed their fate to Teyvat and made it seem like they belonged here. An assimilation of some sorts, you can say, that their fates have been manipulated by an external force to intertwine with whatever laws Teyvat has to follow. But to really understand this theory, we need to understand the concept of weaving fate, and this is best noticeable with the Traveler's power set. More specifically, the mysterious and vague dialogue by Dainsleif in the end of the Teyvat trailer.
Command me to step aside. Show me that you are worthier than I to rescue her. Then, the threads of all fate will be yours to reweave.
The Teyvat trailer respects Lumine as the Abyss Sibling, similar to other trailers in the game, so the safest object for the word her is Lumine, to save her and for the Traveler to reweave fate, either literally or figuratively. Throughout the series, the concept of destiny is something that the Traveler has strangely incorporated into the gameplay. While we don't see it a lot in canon, we do know that the Traveler does possess something fate-like through the gacha system. And this was something that I covered in a previous video. Oh boy. The canon of wishing is something that's not completely sure. Like for example, the Traveler and the characters we talk to are canonically separate from each other. The Traveler walks through the Vat alone with Paimon canonically through the separate perspectives of the Archon quests and the World quests. However, the interactions that the playable characters have with the Traveler is also considered canon. These are the voice lines and the teapot lines. It is canon that Diluc plays chess with the Traveler, or that A knows the Traveler is a shooting star, or that Zhongli asks the Traveler to deliver medicine for Xiao, while in another alternative canon, the Traveler is always alone with Paimon. There seems to be separate fates happening at once, so which one do we respect? Well, given how complex the topic is, I think we can justify it simply to how fate works. Fate in Genshin Impact doesn't flow linearly like a single river, but is instead a tapestry. The Traveler has the power to manipulate the threads, but there still exists a base fate where the Traveler never intermingled in the first place, where the Traveler never had the chance to go adventuring with them outside of the Archon quests. It's less about one canon fate, but rather multiple canon fates hinging on possibilities because the Traveler is manipulating the stories of these characters through the intertwined and acquaint fate systems. So, to truly answer this theory, we need to look at the fates and the wish system currency as described. The intertwined and acquaint fates have the following description: a fateful stone that connects dreams. Its glimmers can entwine fates and connect dreams, just as how its glimmer links stars into the shapes of a heart's desires. No matter the distance apart, guided by the stone's glimmer, the fated will meet under the stars. Furthermore, the masterless Stardust has the following statement: perhaps it can create new destinies when in large enough quantities. The Traveler also knows that to read your fate, you must read the stars, and that the fate of a character is connected to their constellation, according to them at least, which is most likely connected to the name Stella Fortuna, the name of the constellation's unlocking pieces. While the canon lore of the wishing system does seem to be a stretch, there is a possibility that the Traveler will realize their true abilities to weave fate when we reach this mysterious part of their story, labeled as the Loom of Fate. The words Loom of Fate is a concept that was introduced in Genshin's 1.4 and even the Traveler's profile. While in 1.4 the Loom of Fate was the name of a plan to create a mechanical god, the Traveler's context of it might be something else entirely. The word loom is an apparatus for making fabric by weaving yarn or thread, and this ties into another story entirely. In Greek mythology, the concept of fates are known as Moirai, and they are the personifications of destiny. Destiny and fate are portrayed as cloth, and fate must be weaved through the threads of time, happenstance, and fortune. According to Wikipedia, the role of the Moirai was to ensure that every being, mortal and divine, lived out their destiny as it was assigned to them by the laws of the universe. For mortals, this destiny spanned their entire lives, and was represented as a thread spun from a spindle. Generally, they were considered to be above even the gods in their role as enforcers of fate. The youngest watched over the moment of birth. The middle one spun all the events and actions of life. And finally, the eldest cut destiny with a pair of scissors. It's possible that the Traveler represents one of these three siblings, more specifically, the middle child, given that they said they will reweave destiny, which implies that someone else is already holding the threads of fate. Most likely, the entity that is responsible for the birth of all humans in Teyvat. The primordial one, or Phanis, according to the book Before Sun and Moon. Perhaps Phanis is what represents the moment of birth, the moment of creation. As far as we know, this creature is also an entity that exists outside of Teyvat, and was the one that purged the old world of Teyvat from the Dragonairs. If the primordial one and its shades are the first sister, and the Traveler is the middle sister, that leaves us with the missing entity that could represent Atropos, or the final sister. But, going back to our topic, we still need to answer the important question of, who is the Abyss Sibling? Well, Lumine might simply be someone who failed to weave destiny and paid the consequences. Maybe she found the truth of the world and was met with a fate much, much worse. Whatever happened in her first adventure, she found the truth, and by doing so, it's possible that her entire existence has been weaved into Teyvat's Irminsul or whatever laws govern destiny. We know that the Traveler at the moment is known as the exception to the constant in the world because 1, they are new, and 2 is that they play the role of witnesses outside of Teyvat's rules. However, there is nothing preventing them from being integrated into Teyvat through some unknown mystical power. Nothing stopping them from being forced to play by Teyvat's laws. Though it is important to note that the Traveler seems to be impervious to whatever mind-altering or cognito hazard that's happening with the Irminsul. For example, they are the only ones that remember of Greater Lord Rukkhadevata's existence. However, remember that the only reason that they are not affected is because they're not from this world. So if that constant is somehow, some way overridden by something much more powerful, they would also be forced to play under the heavenly principles, and even worse, erosion. What if this is what also happened to Lumine? Aether and Lumine remember their past as being Outlanders, which would explain why the Sustainer calls them as such. However, something in her journey manipulated her fate to have been originally a creature from Conrio or just a creature from Teyvat altogether. A creature that has pledged allegiance to Teyvat. Actually, what if this Lumine doesn't even remember the other worlds anymore, or even was changed to the point of apathy where the only major incidents in her life were of Conria and the Cataclysm? This would explain why she doesn't have any rush to leave, or why she's so closely attached to the people of Conria despite being an Outlander. Remember, Teyvat is only one of countless worlds according to the Traveler. Whatever reweaved Lumine's fate is something powerful and overall dangerous. The complexity of this theory is at the same paradoxical level as removing Greater Lord Rukkhadevata from existence, except in the opposite. Instead of removing something from fate, it's reweaving something into the permanency of Teyvat. Which is honestly not that easy to justify lore-wise either, not with the current information we have at the moment. If we put that into the same magnitude as Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, Lumine would not have been known to the Fatui as a descender because her fate would never allow such a thing. Or maybe the Fatui simply never found her as a descender. Remember, Fatui information is fallible. We know that pieces of information and memories are altered when time or fate is readjusted. This is something established in 2.5 with the Sakura tree and the incident with Greater Lord Rukkhadevata. The world adjusts accordingly to put pieces of history together. It's difficult to put anything conclusive right now, especially when dealing with fate altercations and time paradoxes. Most likely, this is something the Traveler will have to fight and eventually conquer if the Traveler wishes to reweave fate. Who knows? The one who trapped Lumine here could be the Abyss, as Aether theorizes. The Abyss is an antithetical energy, and it could easily represent Atropos, the Abyss being the end-all be-all consumer of lives, if we're going with that narrative parallel. But I actually think that it's not the Abyss, but something much more condemning. But that's it for me today. In summary, this theory presents that Lumine's fate was changed or altered somewhere along her journey, which makes it seem like she was originally a creature from Teyvat and makes her play by the rules of the Irminsul. This entity that reweaved her fate is something that the Traveler will have to face in the future. But this is a much more tame explanation given we know next to nothing about the whole situation, especially the logistics side of everything. All we can say for certain is that this cutscene in the opening states that both Aether and Lumine are Outlanders. Therefore, whatever happened to Lumine's status was after the Cataclysm, or the Traveler remembered wrong. After a certain point of Lumine's journey, Nahida says that the Irminsul stopped recording Lumine's movements. There are a lot of holes in this theory, but at the moment, I can't really answer with anything conclusive. So this is just something that we should ponder upon. Anyway, my name is Aster and thank you for chilling with me.